We'll start again. So thank you so much for joining me for my natural law presentation number 3. We'll be covering fear as an illusion and will keep you permanently imprisoned if the illusion is not recognized. So the following questions I'm going to dive into. What is fear and its root causes? How is fear an illusion? How are our fears used against us? How can we break free of fear-based lives? Again, if anyone has any questions, definitely feel free to just jump in. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this is just the series in its entirety that I'll be covering to talk about the different aspects of natural law. We are on number 3. Number 1 and number 2 are on the website. So if you go to Affirm Life Daily and go to the podcast page, you will see, you can watch those because they kind of build on each other as far as information. So it is good to watch the previous ones as well. And this is on the natural law page. If you just want to look and learn more about natural law, you can go to the natural law page. There's tons of great information on there. There's resources on there as far as books, videos, documentaries, things like that. So we'll start with what is fear. There are 2 basic polarities that are in operation in the universe. Really basic, light and darkness. So light expands consciousness and awakens parts of the creation to understanding and the realization of itself. So we talked about this kind of in some of the previous ones. We are all part of the one consciousness. So the light allows us to awaken and recognize that and recognize the truth of the world around us. Darkness attempts to shut out the light of knowledge and to keep us in a state resembling sleep, in which we are unconscious to truth. So fear is at the heart of this darkness. This is a really great quote about fear from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Fear defeats more people than any other thing in the world. So it is something internal within us that can literally destroy our lives if we allow it to. So the next quote I'm going to read is from Mark Passio from whatonearthishappening.com. I highly recommend him. There's a lot of videos on my website with him featured in there. He is probably the most knowledgeable person I've ever encountered on the internet, to be honest with you. But he has a great podcast. If you watch it, start from podcast 1 because the knowledge definitely builds on each other. But he has a wealth of information about natural law and many other things, and especially the occult, a lot of hidden knowledge. But this quote is, this is simply how natural law works. Love, which is higher consciousness, leads to dominion, which is just self-control, which in turn leads to freedom, which produces more love and more consciousness. Fear, on the other hand, the shutdown of consciousness, leads to confusion, no pattern recognition, which is why you see so many people, when you are either in the process of waking up or you are awake and you just wonder, like, how are people not seeing these patterns? Like, these controllers are doing the exact same thing over and over, but they don't see the patterns. That is because they are in a state of fear and they're vibrating at that level. So no pattern recognition, which in turn leads to the desire to control. And I will just add, or to be controlled, which breeds more confusion and fear. So these polarities build on each other. So the deeper you get into it, the more it grows on its own. What does fear do to your brain? So fear causes your amygdala, the small organ in the middle of your brain, to go to work. It alerts your nervous system, which sets your body's fear response into motion. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released. Your blood pressure and heart rate increase. You basically go into fight or flight response. Fear slows or shuts down functions not needed for survival, such as your digestive system. Fear sharpens functions that might help us survive, such as your eyesight will get more acute. Maybe your hearing may become more acute. Our heart rate increases and blood flows to muscles rather than our brain, so we can run faster or fight if necessary. Fear is strongly associated with depression, psychosis, and attempting suicide. So what is the impact of chronic fear? Because these days there are so many people that live in a chronic state of fear. Many people that are in a chronic state of fear don't even realize they are in a chronic state, which makes it even worse because they're not doing anything to try to rectify it or get out of it. But living under constant threat has serious health consequences, physically and mentally. So as far as physical health, Fear weakens our immune system and can cause cardiovascular damage, gastrointestinal problems such as ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome, and decreased fertility. It can lead to accelerated aging and even premature death. Our memory is greatly affected by fear, chronic fear. Fear can impair formation of long-term memories and cause damage to certain parts of the brain, such as the hippocampus. This can make it even more difficult to regulate fear and can leave a person anxious most of the time. To someone in chronic fear, the world looks scary and their memories confirm that. It affects brain processing and reactivity. Fear can interrupt processes in our brain that allow us to regulate emotions, read nonverbal cues and other information presented to us, reflect before acting, and act ethically. This impacts our thinking and decision-making in negative ways, leaving us susceptible to intense emotions and impulsive reactions. All of these effects can leave us unstable to act appropriately. I'm sure all of us see this every single day. People where it's just like, is your brain working? Like, why are you reacting this way? Why can't you process, the information? Because there's so many things now, especially now, they're being very upfront with, very in your face with things that they're doing to us. And you still have people that can't seem to process it, can't seem to recognize it, and can't seem to understand that the consequence of acting unethically. So all these things can be caused by chronic fear. Mental health is definitely impacted by chronic fear. So consequences of long-term fear include fatigue, clinical depression, and should be PTSD. And this information is from Louise Delagran. She's a doctor from the University, I think of Michigan. I can't remember, but I think it was the University of Michigan. Okay. Fear is the root of all evil, which we can kind of tell just from the information that I shared already. So what is fear? Fear is the essence of negative emotion, which leads to all other expressions of negativity or what we call bad feelings, including hatred, intolerance, insecurity, depression, and a host of other negative feelings. Fear shuts down our consciousness and perpetually strives to stop the light of truth from reaching us and having an effect in our lives. That is another quote from Mark Passio. This graphic here is also a graphic that I took from one of his presentations. So basically it just kind of talks about how the difference in the expression from love versus fear and the different polarities. So we have the generative polarity of love, and generative just means we use it to create. So that brings on consciousness. Love is the same as consciousness. And when we're initiating that expression, which is how it starts with knowledge or acceptance of truth. And truth we covered in another previous presentation. Truth is just what is. It is nothing complicated. It is simply acknowledgement of what is. It is reality, is the truth. So the position that many people take nowadays, this is my personal truth. They have their own truth is reality. So personal truth is not a thing that is made up to make people feel better so that they can feel like they're not lying to themselves about certain things, but truth is just simply reality. The internal expression of love is sovereignty, internal monarchy. You rule yourself. You are in control of yourself. The external expression of love is freedom. So external anarchy. And anarchy is not chaos or what a lot of people think. Anarchy just means free of rulers. That's all the word anarchy means. So you are free of rulers. You are free to rule yourself. Manifestation, which is the result we create from love, is order. Love automatically creates order because love is based in truth. So it's a manifested good. On the other end of that, the negative or fear, when we generate that polarity, we are generating the polarity of unconsciousness. And that is expressed in ignorance or refusal of truth. Literally ignorance. You're ignoring the truth. The internal expression is internal anarchy. So external anarchy is a good thing, but internal anarchy is not, because you should be ruling over yourself. Again, anarchy just means free of rulers, but internally you should be ruling yourself. So because you're in a state of confusion, you don't know how to rule yourself. So the external expression of that is control or external monarchy. Because you are confused and cannot rule yourself, you are literally looking for someone to control you and rule over you, because you cannot rule yourself, because you are in a state of fear. The manifestation of that in the world that we create as a result is chaos, which is just manifested evil. Is fear real? I'm going to read another quote. This is not to say that you don't experience fear. Of course you do. And in some cases, it's necessary. But what's driving the fear you experience is almost always false, not valid in terms of the possibility of it coming to fruition, often anchored to limiting beliefs or areas of your life that require healing. In fact, fear has a very telling acronym: false evidence appearing real. That's a quote by Jessica Jones, a holistic executive coach. So basically, when you come to an understanding of the true nature of your being and existence, the illusion of fear becomes obvious. We are eternal divine beings of pure energy that may change forms, but will always exist. We are part of the one consciousness, and we always will be. So when you think about it that way, when you are grounded that way, you realize fear is an illusion, because what can you fear? You are eternal. You are eternal divine spiritual energy. How is fear an illusion? Fear is an illusion because the divine, the one consciousness, is the embodiment of love. Given that fact, fear, the opposite or polarity of love, is an illusion. Fear, nevertheless, is necessary because polarity is built into the universe. Everything must have its opposite. You cannot truly know, not in this plane of existence, know anything without its opposite. Justified fear is in acutely dangerous situations can serve as a useful purpose and even save your life. But unchecked fear that takes over an individual's energy and vibration only leads to destruction. So someone pulls a gun on you, or a dog is chasing you, or something like that. Yeah, you want to feel fear so that you can save yourself. It'll activate that fight or flight response so that you can act appropriately to try to save yourself from harm. But when it's chronic, that's different, and it will change your vibration. This state of being leads to confusion and disconnection from truth. The illusory nature of fear must be recognized for true awakening within an individual to occur. Your attachment to fear will indeed imprison you. Fear-based thinking will destroy the individual. A fear-based collective will destroy us all. And that is why we see so much destruction all around us. As a collective, it is definitely being run by fear. This is a Rumi quote. I love Rumi, by the way. I don't know if anyone else loves Rumi, but he has some wonderful poetry and writings. But why do you stay in prison when the door is wide open? Move outside the tangle of fear thinking. The entrance door to the sanctuary is inside you. Everything you need is inside you. Because like I said, we are divine spiritual beings and we are part of the one consciousness. So we have to free ourselves from that fear-based thinking. How are our fears used against us? A small cabal of evil sorcerers control our whole planet by manipulating the consciousness of its people into a vibration of fear, which we kind of already talked about. That again is a Mark Passio quote. So how are they doing this? What are their primary techniques? The psychopathic and sociopathic rulers, and I put that in quotes, use these primary techniques to control and manipulate humanity into a vibration of fear, using brainwashing, programming, and mind control. This allows them to create the following. When I say this, I'm referring to the brainwashing, programming, and mind control. So they use those techniques to make us believe in artificial created scarcity, to have a poisoned worldview, spiritual disconnection, and propagating a satanic belief system. And I will go into each of those four in more depth. But first, we'll talk about the three techniques. So how they do it. This is how they do it. Our current controllers can be thought of as master psychologists. They are a small number of individuals who have a deep understanding of the human psyche and subconscious. They use this occulted or hidden knowledge as a weapon against us, while purposely miseducating us on these very same aspects of ourselves. And it's funny because the slide that I showed you guys earlier, which looked very harmless, it is very harmless, the 15 aspects that I'm going to be covering of natural law. When I just tried to post that on TikTok, they took it down. I tried again, they took it right down. There's nothing offensive. There's nothing aggressive. It just talks about the aspects of natural law. A lot of my natural law posts are either taken down or suppressed, heavily suppressed, because this is occulted hidden knowledge, and they don't want you to understand how your mind works and how your subconscious works, because then their techniques won't be effective anymore, because you'll understand what they're doing, and they do not want the general public to understand at all what they're doing to us. So the first is brainwashing, also known as psychological kidnapping. It is a broad class of intense and often coercive tactics intended to produce profound changes in attitudes, beliefs, and emotions. Targets of such tactics have typically been prisoners of war, and believe me, we are absolutely at war. When you have people poisoning you every possible way, when you have them taking away your freedom of speech, trying to take away your rights on a daily basis, you are absolutely at war. And members of religious cults. And when I say religious cults, I don't just mean like, a religious cult that may be a break off of Christianity or something like that. The religious cults, I'm talking about the religious cults of government, authority, military, politics, and money. They're all very extremely but lesser recognized religious cults. What makes it a religious cult? Because religions are simply firmly held beliefs that are thought to be unquestionable. If you tell the average person, oh, you don't need government, or authority is an illusion, or money is completely made up, they'll think you're crazy, because it is a religious belief to them. And it's usually much more of a powerful religious belief than their spiritual religious beliefs. The average person that will say, well, I'm a Christian and that's my religion, and I go to church every Sunday, probably has a much stronger connection to money and authority than they do to that church. Mind control. Subverting by any means of psychological tactics an individual's control of his or her mind. This includes their thinking, behavior, emotions, or decisions. You see that all the time, mind control. Negative programming. A subconscious negative program refers to deeply ingrained beliefs, thought patterns, or conditioning that operate at a subconscious level and have a negative impact on our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. These programs often stem from past experiences, societal influences, or internalized messages. I mean, they literally even call TV, your scheduled TV, programming. So we get programming constantly. And a lot of it is designed to reach you at a subconscious level, so you don't even recognize that you're being programmed. Mind control at work. This show, it's kind of actually old now. It was called The Push. It was on Netflix. And I just want to give you an example of how powerful mind control is. Now, it was a psychological study. This guy calls himself a psychological illusionist. I guess I could agree, because he was able to get people, after a small amount of mind control, I mean, just a matter, I think, of just like hours, I don't even know if it was that long, of mind control, to get people to commit murder. And multiple people committed murder. The guy was harnessed. They didn't know he was harnessed, but they got them to push an old man off of a building. Multiple people did this. And you can, hopefully it's still somewhere online or on TV where you can still watch it, but it's called The Push. I highly recommend it. So you can see firsthand the power of mind control, that they actually got people to commit what they thought at the time was murder. Another thing that if you have not ever checked out is the Milgram experiment. This will really kind of show you the power of authority and how it is a religion. The Milgram experiment, basically, they had people giving what they thought was a electric shock to someone. And just because the person in the lab coat, the person running the show, they felt was an authority figure and kept on to do it, even if they kind of felt uncomfortable. It's like, should I keep doing this? Just the slightest pressure from the authority figure, the majority, almost all the people kept giving the shock, even to the point where the other person was screaming, begging for them to stop. They didn't stop. They just kept doing it. So these are really prime examples of how the brainwashing, programming, and mind control has worked on the general population very well, very successfully. So now we're going to talk about the other four components that I had mentioned. They pump these to us using those methods. The first is the artificial scarcity. There just is not enough for everyone. Artificial created scarcity. This is continually selling the idea through media and the education system that we don't have enough resources for everyone. The controllers create economic division, poverty, starvation, crime, and other societal problems to use as proof that there is not enough for everyone. And that is just absolutely a total lie, and it can easily be disproven. But their manipulation causes this perceived scarcity. So people are always feeling like, oh, well, I have to act immoral because there's just not enough. I got to do what I got to do to feed my kids or to feed myself or to pay my rent. And they will, and they won't take a step back and look, well, is this scarcity even real? Why wouldn't there be enough? This planet is extremely large. Yeah, there's a lot of people, but most of the space is still empty, not even being used. So the problem is not that there is a lack of money, food, water, or land. The problem is that we've given control of these resources to psychopaths. That is the entire problem. This is a graphic I pulled off of Instagram, I believe. So poisoned worldview is the other thing they push. People are just bad. It's their nature. Ingrained poisoned worldview. We are taught from the earliest of ages that the world is scary and people are inherently bad, violent, and just should not be trusted. TV, movies, books, schooling, newspapers, magazines, and most major organizations all echo this poisoned view of humanity. Most people never even consider that the bad behavior of many individuals have to do with the manufactured poverty, societal injustice, negative programming, and the desperation for survival. And these are all conditions that were created by the controllers. So the human mind is indeed programmable. And right now it has been programmed to be bad. So you do see a lot of violence and people, doing immoral things and stealing and harming each other and harming themselves because that's what we've been programmed to do. But the input is what matters. If you put garbage in, you get garbage out. Our brains work very, very much like a computer. If I put in a bunch of bad software and I get a bunch of viruses, I'm get terrible output from my computer. The same thing with your brain. Garbage in, garbage out. Spiritual disconnection. You're just another animal, just flesh and bone, nothing more. We are sold the lie that the physical world should be the primary focus of our existence. Most media conditions us to focus on money, physical appearance, consumerism, materialism, competition, and sexual objectification. Humanity as a collective is spiritually disconnected from the one consciousness, or you can think of it as God, and from the very essence of our spiritual divine nature. This imbalanced focus on the physical leaves most people spiritually degraded with souls that are starving, literally starving to be fed something real. And that is why you see so much dysfunction and mental illness and health problems. There's other reasons, of course, too, for many of those things, but a lot of it is spiritual in nature. These are souls that are starving for truth. Propagating a satanic belief system. This is a really big one and this is one that many, many people do not realize that they're doing. Only care about yourself. Your happiness and prosperity is all that matters. Because they wrap this in a lot of new age stuff, they wrap it really pretty. They wrap it in bows of self-care, and caring about yourself is very important, but you don't care only about yourself. And that is what is being pushed a lot. And you don't care about yourself to the point where you don't care if it harms other people. So de facto, which is just a matter of fact, Satanists prioritize their own selfish behaviors and disregard the existence of higher powers or natural law. They believe that as long as they don't get caught and face consequences in the physical world, they won't face any negative consequences from the universe. This mindset is prevalent among everyday individuals in today's society, even though most people will not admit it. not just in the ruling class. This is not just prevalent in the ruling class. This is prevalent in society as a whole now. Satanism is not what most people think of. It's not, oh, I'm not saying everyone's at home devil worshiping or that the controllers are devil worshiping. That's not what Satanism is. It is a mindset of the ego and self-interest ruling above all else. Taking what you want, no matter how it affects anyone else, no matter how it destroys nature, or even if it is completely inhumane. That is Satanism. And you'd be in denial to say that is not the bulk of society right now. And how can we break free of fear-based lies? That's the important part. How can we break free of this? How can we help others break free of this? Living in alignment with natural law. And I will review natural law. I think it's the next slide. Always acknowledge truth, even when it's hard to hear, and allow life to unfold naturally. So it is easy to get caught in fear because you're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared about this. I'm scared about that. The truth about life is when it unfolds naturally, there are going to be negatives. There's going to be downfalls. There's going to be painful parts. There's going to be parts that are just terrible, but there's also going to be tons of beautiful parts. So being scared all the time of the parts that are going to hurt or going to be difficult won't change them from happening. So we have to kind of let that fear go and just let life unfold naturally. Recognize and embrace your divine nature. Remember that you are absolutely divine. You are eternal spirit. Educate yourself and gain real knowledge, not manipulated knowledge, not from indoctrinated schooling. You have to kind of dig deeper. You have to start, reading, books, getting away from the mainstream media, looking for more independent sources of documentaries and podcasts and, information online. Like I said, reading lots of books, ways so that you can really get holistic knowledge, real knowledge to help break free of this fear-based life. Once you have gained the proper wisdom, share it, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's extremely important to share it with abandon. Always act in true care. We will cover true care in coming slides as well. So what is natural law? Natural law is the inherent, unchangeable, immutable law of the universe. It is not man-made. So it has nothing to do with ordinances or codes or our current legal system. These are the laws of the universe, or you can even call it God's law. Natural law is based on respecting the freedom, sovereignty, and the rights of every individual. Your rights include everything that does not cause harm to another or steal from another. You should have the right to do anything other than that. You are born free, and you should be free to live your life as a free individual. Rights are not granted by government or authority, but given by the universe or God. This is why government is immoral by nature, because no one can grant you what is already inherently yours. How can the government give me rights? I was given the rights by God. So that's why government is immoral by its very nature. Society will always move towards destruction, loss of freedom, chaos, evil, and immorality when we move away from natural law. What is true care? Mark Passio describes care, aka true care, as the lesser known eighth principle of natural law. Natural law is also based on the Hermetic principles. I definitely recommend studying the Hermetic principles. They are very powerful, and they do govern the universe, these Hermetic principles. This is the lost generative principle is what he calls it, this eighth principle that he added to the 7 Hermetic principles. It's called true care, or care with a capital C. This generative principle of care, which is different from compassion or even love, and it is described with a capital C to distinguish it from care with a lowercase c. What you focus on and give attention to is ultimately what gets generated and grows. Law of attraction, the real law of attraction. It's not about ignoring the negative, but being mindful of what you are feeding. Care comes first. You've got to care enough to develop the knowledge necessary to understand what true care is. Then you've got to act upon it and put it into practice. The heart is the generator of care, providing energy and moving the life force through the body, ultimately determining our shared experience. The world is the way it is because most people do not care enough to change it through their actions. Despite saying they want things to be different, they don't do anything. And I mean, I've running 2 meetups right now, and I barely get any activity from, and I appreciate anyone that's on any of the meetups right now. I appreciate you participating. But that's the reality of the situation. Everybody wants change, but no one wants to be a part of the change. True care leads to real change. What is a generative principle? A generative principle is a principle that has the power to create change. The generative principle of care is often misunderstood and overlooked because people lack care and the understanding of its significance. This leads directly to a society that remains in bondage and in need of understanding occult or hidden knowledge and embracing unity consciousness. It is very important to understand occult knowledge, hidden knowledge, because like I said, that is what they are using to pull off what they're pulling off. No one is this lucky. If you think these controllers just keep getting lucky, they're not. No one gets this lucky. They have been able to do this for hundreds of years for a reason, because of the knowledge that they have that we do not have. So it is very important to start learning about hidden knowledge, occulted knowledge, and also embracing the unity consciousness. We have to start caring as a collective if we truly want to see change. Be the change yourself, you. Most people only want societal change that has no requirement that they actually have to change themselves as a person. And that is super evident. They want the world to change, but they do not want to change their own actions, lifestyle, or belief systems. They want change that requires little to no effort on their part. Right action is required of us all if we truly want to change the world we live in. Right action is required if we truly want to be free. So if freedom is just not like a slogan to you, and change is not just like a slogan to you, if this is real, if it's in your heart, then it takes right action. It takes participation. It takes effort. It takes change within self. So that concludes my presentation. I do welcome everyone to visit my website for more information, resources, ways to connect. You can go to affirmedlifedaily.com. Like I said, there's tons of information on there, tons of videos. Follow me on social media, please. Share information. The previous podcasts are on the website as well, so you can watch the other two, the first two that I did. But I absolutely appreciate so much you all taking the time to listen to me. And does anyone have any questions? Questions are absolutely welcome. I would love to discuss anything that I presented. No? Okay. Well, again, I appreciate your time. Please visit the website. I will have this video posted on the website soon. Give me a couple days, and I'll have this posted on there as well. I'm sorry. Did someone have a question?
Okay. I have a question, if you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Is there any way, I would be really interested, and I don't know if you've done this before, like maybe to do some type of guided meditations or something as a group to kind of get to that state of inner, to tap into that power within, because there's so many distractions. So I'm hearing everything you say as is in theory, you know what I'm saying? But it'd be good to kind of practice it, to be in a space where we can practice it and practice that discovering yourself, you know what I mean? Because you've been programmed for 45, 50 years, or in some cases 22 years if we're young like your kids, but it's hard just to change just like that.
It is.
And
it's absolutely
we
difficult.
know all these things in theory, but it'd be good if we can learn how to kind of tap into that power that you're talking about, because we're going to need to do it, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for me, it is a concerted, focused effort all the time. Like, it's so easy to slip back into old habits. It's so easy to be like, oh, who cares? Just forget it. You know what I mean? It's very easy to slip into that. So, I'm really open to doing something like that. Having one of the sessions be a guided meditation. If you know someone that could lead something like that, well, let me know. I think that's a great idea. I do try to incorporate meditation, into my routine in my life. And, but, you have to find kind of what works for you. I try to spend more time in nature. I shut off my TV way more. I hardly, watch it anymore. If I am, I'll try to watch things that are giving me knowledge or giving me inspiration or something like that. Rather than just kind of, sometimes, I'll watch just mindless entertainment just because I need a break. But, I try to definitely read a lot more books, things like that, and speaking out, talking to people, not being scared to share my opinion just because it's not a popular opinion. I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have. People don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be called a conspiracy theorist. They don't want to be made fun of. So they don't say anything. And they're just letting evil run amok. And that is not showing true care. When you do that, when you're silent is complicity with evil. It is. There's no way around it. Anybody else have any questions, comments, suggestions?
I do, if you have just a moment.
Okay.
I came late and I apologize because I really feel like I missed something. And what I did hear you say was incredible. And I'm hoping you're going to do this again because you, young lady, are so vital to the cause. And I think you're going to be incredible. You just keep moving.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And you will be able to hear the whole thing. Like I said, I'm going to post it. Just give me a couple days to do the editing and stuff. Well, I'm not going to lie, my daughter is to do the editing and stuff. But I will post it. And the other videos, the first 2 presentations are already on my website. So if you go to affirmlifedaily.com, they are there. But I appreciate that because like I said, it can be discouraging at times, when you don't, get a lot of support or, things like that, or, you post something online and you get, 20 crazy negative comments and you're just posting something that's completely obviously true. But so I definitely appreciate that.
You just send them love, rise above it and send them love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are 100% right.
Natural law is going to be in quicker than we know. It's as fast as this last 4 years went, and it went fast, and it's going to be really fast. And so I just honor you for doing what you're doing, and thank you. And I hope to hear you again.
Thank you so much. I'm going to try. I've been doing them once a month. I'm going to try to bump it to every 2 weeks. So that I can present the information sooner, because I do want to start getting into some other things like, having some episodes be things like guided meditations or have on guests that we can, that are knowledgeable about natural law that I can interview and things like that to really just kind of keep the information flowing, get other perspectives and keep everything engaging.
I happen to have a business in North Carolina and it's a holistic center. And I just think it would be great if I could put you on the screen and do a Zoom call with a lot of my clients. And
I would be more than happy to.
So how can I get a hold of you? Text you or
let me give you my number. Yeah, you can. I'll give you my number and then I'll text you all of my contact information. But my phone number is 678 592
okay
5311
5311. And then and your website again is
affirmlifedaily.com.
Daily.com. Excellent. I'll go to your website and we'll be chatting. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. No, thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great evening. Yeah.
You too. And I want to visit your place. You're not that far. I'm in Georgia. So.
Oh, nice.
So definitely reach out to me so we can connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Have a blessed night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Did anybody else have any questions, comments? Anything they want to add? Suggestions? No? Well, I, again, appreciate everyone's participation this evening. I know people have a lot of things that they can be doing and everybody has busy lives, so I appreciate you taking the time. And my email is affirmlifedaily@gmail.com as well. If anyone wants to email me anything or have suggestions or people that you want me to connect with or want me to present for anyone else. But other than that, Everyone have a wonderful night. God bless and peace.
All right.